Welcome to The Explainer. There's a silent epidemic happening inside millions of us. It's a full-blown crisis in our gut health. Today, we're going to dig into the data, the diet, and the daily stress that's just wreaking havoc on our insides.
All right, here's the plan. First, we'll look at just how big this problem is. Then, we're putting the modern diet on trial. We'll dive deep into that microscopic world inside you, expose a surprising partner in crime living in our heads, and then, finally, talk about how to fix it. So, let's get to it. Why are our guts in so much trouble?
Okay, first up, America's gut problem. Let's just start with the evidence, okay? The sheer scale of digestive disease in the U.S. is, it's jaw-dropping. The numbers really paint a picture of a massive, widespread health crisis.
Get this. The National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases says a whopping 60 to 70 million Americans are affected. Think about that for a second. That's almost 1 in every 5 people you know dealing with some kind of digestive problem. It's huge.
And the cost? Oh, it's just mind-boggling. We're talking $141.8 billion every single year. That's what gets drained from the economy because of medical bills and, people being too sick to work. It's an immense financial burden.
But here's the really tragic part. We're not just talking about money or discomfort. These conditions are a primary cause of death for almost 250,000 people each year. This is literally a matter of life and death.
So, okay, the numbers are clear. We've got a massive problem on our hands. The big question is, what's behind it all? Well, our investigation is going to start with the most obvious suspect, right? What we're all eating.
All right, Section 2, the modern diet on trial. Let's really dive in here and put the modern Western diet, on the stand. It's basically the default way of eating for so many of us, but what's the real cost to our health?
So what exactly is the Western diet? Well, researchers define it by what it's packed with. Tons of processed foods, unhealthy fats, refined sugars, salt. You know the drill. But what's even more critical is what it's missing. And that key missing piece, it's fiber.
And wow, this chart really lays it all out, doesn't it? The recommendation is to get around 25 to 30 grams of fiber a day. But the average American? We're only getting about 16 grams. That is a huge difference. We're living in what you could call a massive fiber gap.
And listen, this isn't just some small dietary detail. It's a really big deal. This fiber gap, it's literally starving the good guys, the beneficial microorganisms living in our gut. They need that fiber to survive.
So, this brings us right to the crime scene, so to speak, inside your microbiome. This is where all that harm from our diet really takes place.
Okay, I want you to picture your gut as this bustling, vibrant inner ecosystem. It's not just a tube for food, no way. It's home to over 100 trillion little critters, bacteria, archaea, you name it. And they are absolutely crucial for, pretty much everything, from digestion to your immune system.
So, when our diet starves all those beneficial microbes, it throws the whole system out of whack. It creates this harmful imbalance that scientists call dysbiosis. It's kind of like a beautiful garden that gets overrun by weeds, and they just start choking out all the good plants. This state, dysbiosis, has been linked to so many diseases.
And this isn't just a theory. We see it in the real world. There was this fascinating comparative study. They looked at kids in rural Africa eating a traditional high-fiber diet and compared them to European kids eating a Western diet. The results were just, wow. The kids in Africa had way more microbial richness, a much more diverse and healthy gut. Our modern diet is literally making our inner ecosystem less diverse.
But here's the thing. Diet is a huge part of the story, for sure. But it's not the whole story. It turns out there's a co-conspirator, another major factor that gets involved. And that brings us to Section 4, the stress-gut connection. This is that co-conspirator I was talking about, the one in our heads. Let's explore this really powerful and honestly often overlooked connection between our minds and our guts.
You see, there's this thing called the gut-brain axis. Think of it like a two-way communication superhighway that's always on, connecting your brain and your digestive system. They are constantly talking to each other, sending messages back and forth.
So what happens when chronic stress gets in the mix? Well, your brain basically keeps its foot on the gas of your body's stress response system. This system, the HPA axis, gets activated over and over again, and that floods your body with stress hormones like cortisol. The result? Real physical damage to your gut.
It can mess with how things move, it can make the lining more permeable, what some people call leaky gut, and it dials up inflammation.
So this sustained hormonal attack, it just adds fuel to the fire. It ramps up inflammation, and that dysbiosis we talked about, making all the damage from a poor diet even worse. It's like a 1-2 punch. The bad diet weakens your gut from the inside, and then stress comes along and just pounds on it from the outside.
Okay, so now that we've identified the culprits and seen how they do their damage, the big question is, how do we start to fix this? How can we start rebuilding a healthy gut?
Well, the solution actually becomes pretty clear when you just look at a tale of two diets. You contrast the Western diet with something like the Mediterranean diet. They're polar opposites, right? One is full of processed junk, the other is packed with whole grains, veggies, fruits, plant-based proteins, healthy fats, all the stuff your gut absolutely loves.
So here's your gut health toolkit. The main takeaway, it's pretty straightforward really. We need to prioritize fiber from lots of different plant sources, eat more whole foods, fruits, veggies, legumes, choose those good fats like from olive oil and avocados, and of course try to limit the processed stuff, the refined sugars and red meat. When you nourish your gut, you're really supporting your entire body.
And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. If our gut really is this inner ecosystem, could its declining health be a mirror? A reflection of the imbalances in our modern world? It's something to think about, isn't it?